Hello, this is Darren Cauthon, and this is going to be my discussion post for Unit 7 of MIS605, where I'm going to talk about how JSON became popular, and I'm going to show a public API. So first off, now I've been a programmer for 20 years, so I am very familiar with JSON. Way back when, before we used JSON all over the place, programming had a lot of busy work. It had a lot of conversions. So here's a simple example, but if I wanted to show a first and last name on a website and that data was in the database, and the database was probably in a relational table, I'd probably have to make a query and I'd have to convert the data into an object. But then I would have to convert the object into HTML or XML in order to get it to appear in the browser. What happened with JSON is that it sort of happened in two ways. One is that a system called Ajax, which allowed us to make web calls back and forth, started to become more popular and necessary to make websites function. But we realized that JSON, which is JavaScript object notation, is plain JavaScript. So if we wanted to get the data in JSON, if we just return the data in JSON, then we'd have the data in the form we would need. So we wouldn't need to make these conversions all over the place. Then when you bring in document databases, where we started storing data not in a table, but in collections of documents, we realized the same JSON could not only work here on the server, it could also work in the browser, and it could work in the database. So in some applications, everything is exactly the same. Let me give you an example of that. So here's the ESPN website. And I'll show you how I did this really fast. If you just right click on the website, a menu will come up eventually. Come on. That'll bring up this little developer system. But if you click the network tab and then you click this XHR, I'm gonna click on that again, click on XHR, then if you refresh the page, you can watch all of the AJAX traffic, which is, web calls being made from your browser to the server. And if you look at it, if you look at these requests, you're gonna find that they either return nothing or they return JSON. I'll show you this and this is the same case across the board. Like here I'm on CNN's website. I refresh the page, I'm gonna get a ton of pages like this of web requests that return JSON. And if I go to the console window, I can just copy paste that JSON, but I can assign it to a variable. And bam, I am dealing, that data converts straight to JavaScript, straight into a variable that I can then use as a programmer. So that's one of the reasons it became really popular. So kind of going along the same route, these AJAX calls that you see back and forth are, in a way, public APIs. Now, they're not public APIs that are meant to be consumed in the way we'd probably normally expect, but they are still APIs that return JSON. So this is a website, 538, that returns election results, and they have lots of polls. So I just was looking on websites that I could use for an example, and I saw this one, and I realized that all the data you see over here in HTML is being pulled from this JSON feed, this polls.initial.json. So you can see every poll they show is in a JSON form here. So just for fun, I turned this into an iPhone app, believe it or not, using Siri. So I can't show you this on my phone, but I used a web call here to take that JSON feed, that API, but then I had it, I basically just started pulling variables out of it. So all these variables, and I know my screen is a little shrunk here, all the variables on the right, you can see here on the left, I'll just start pulling them out. I don't have my pointer here, but you can see I pull out state, I pull out type, and then I look for polls where it's a presidential general poll and the state is national. and I build a sentence from it. And the sentence is to say, on this date, this pollster released a poll. And then I'm going to show you this now using my iPhone. Siri, what is the last national poll?
On July 22nd, 2020, YouGov released the poll showing Biden with 48.0% and Trump with 41.0%.
So I think that shows kind of how JSON could be very useful and popular, because this website never intended probably for their feed to be used this way, but because JSON is so easy to use, I could just pop it right into my iPhone or any other language and use the data. So thank you.